Hello, welcome to Tumaritis Village. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell.
The veil between worlds is thin in Tumaritis Village. And one terrifying night, a phantom figure was spotted leaping through the dark coconut trees before slamming down onto a villager's roof. What happened next would change everything. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, Petrick was in a deep slumber when the break of dawn stirred him awake. He headed straight for the bathroom to splash his face and freshen up. As morning fully arrived, people began heading out to the rice fields and farms. Inside his modest house, Petrick was having a quick breakfast, muttering to himself.
Today, Father Seymour wants me to go to the paddy and till the soil with Garing. As soon as I finish this, I've got to get ready.
Petrick set out, hoe and water flask in hand, walking toward the fields to meet Garing and start their work. He secretly hoped Garing would bring some snacks for their break.
Fingers crossed we get a huge harvest this year, Reng,
Petrick said to Garing.
Yeah, let's just hope we don't end up with a crop failure, Trook,
Garing replied. Petrick countered.
Our work will be for nothing if the harvest fails, Reng.
Garing suggested.
You have a cell phone, right? Why don't you look up ways to prevent crop failure? We can apply it to our rice plants. It's bound to work.
Petrick's eyes widened.
You're right. What's the point of owning a phone if all I do is make calls? We live in a modern, high-tech world. We can easily find articles on how to make our rice grow lush and guarantee a successful harvest.
That's a great idea, Trook. All right, let's head back. It's getting late,
Garing agreed. As they prepared to head home, Petrick asked why Bagong hadn't shown up to help. Garing explained that Bagong had been told to come, but he was nowhere to be seen when Garing arrived. Petrick questioned why Bagong was skipping out on his chores. After walking a good distance, they spotted a woman carrying an umbrella. They looked closer and realized it was Nona Darsem, a childless widow who had been absent from Tumaritis Village for a long time. Nona Darsem was walking while wearing a farmer's hat, a head covering, and carrying an umbrella, a truly bizarre sight to anyone who saw her. Petrick and Garing greeted her, and Nona Darsem returned the greeting. They exchanged a brief word, and she continued on her way. Petrick and Garing watched her go, filled with a sense of genuine bewilderment. Elsewhere, Bagong and Daroos were walking, carrying their fishing rods, seemingly returning from a trip. Bagong boasted to Daroos that he'd caught plenty of fish at the lake near Sukamandi Village. You can catch plenty of fish in the river right here. Why go all that way? Daroos scoffed. Bagong retorted that the lake near Sukamandi Village had a much better view than the river in their village. Just then, they saw Nona Darsem pass by. Bagong greeted her politely, but Daroos did not. Laughing, Daroos questioned Nona Darsem about her outfit. Why are you dressed like that? It's not raining, and it's not even hot. That getup is probably making you overheat even more. Nona Darsem shot back a terse reply, then offered a peculiar, unsettling smile. Bagong immediately warned Daroos to watch his mouth and stop hurting people with his words. It turned out that behind Nona Darsem's strange smile, something truly sinister was hidden. A little later, Petrick and Garing walked past a crowd gathering outside the home of Pak Sakir, an elderly bachelor. Garing assumed that a crowd like that meant the person who lived there had died, but Petrick was doubtful. Suddenly, Bagong and Darus appeared from behind, startling Petrick and Garing. They talked about Pak Sakir's death, but Garing quickly became furious at Bagong for being with Darus carrying fishing rods when he was supposed to be at the fields. Bagong lamely excused himself by saying he forgot. Garing snapped back, calling Bagong a lazy shirker who preferred relaxing to hard work. Petrick intervened, urging everyone to go home immediately and change clothes to help with Pak Sakir's burial. Day turned into night. Nona Darsim was seen reading an incantation in her living room. Suddenly, a terrifying ghost materialized before her. Nona Darsim told the ghost that she had been offended by the words of a man named Darus. The ghost replied that anyone who offended her would become a victim, and the payment for the ghost's service would be great wealth for Nona Darsim. The ghost then left, heading straight for Darus's house. The ghost was leaping through the trees, murmuring that anyone who spoke ill of him and Nona Darsim would become a sacrifice for their wealth agreement. But there was a grim catch. If the ghost failed to find a victim, Nona Darsim herself would be the replacement. The ghost landed on Darus's roof, preparing to claim its victim. And with that, Darus was killed, consumed by the phantom. The next morning, Garing ran to Simar's house and frantically knocked on the door. Simar opened it and asked Garing what was wrong. Garing explained there was another death in Tumaritis Village, Darus. Simar was shocked, and they rushed to Darus's house. After Darus's body was buried, Simar and his sons stopped at a roadside stall to rest. Simar questioned Bagong, who had been with Darus yesterday, about what they had done that could have led to Darus's death. Bagong insisted they hadn't done anything. Darus had seemed fine. The only thing of note was their encounter with Nona Darsim on the way home, where Darus had insulted her with harsh words, making Nona Darsim angry and offended. But strangely, Bagong added, Nona Darsim had smiled before leaving us. Petrick racked his brain. After a long moment, he finally remembered. He had seen the fat man earlier that day while taking Yuli home. Petrick had seen this very man get run over and killed by the train. Petrick started to shake uncontrollably with fear, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. And then, suddenly, the fat man transformed into something terrifying. Petrick caught a glimpse of his horrific face in the rear-view mirror. Petrick was struck speechless. The fat man spoke to... "We're almost there," the fat man replied. "Calm down. No need to be so scared. I'll tell you when we're close." Petrick muttered to himself, shaking. "I can't take this anymore. My hands and knees are trembling so fast. What do I do? He hasn't asked to stop yet." Suddenly, the fat man stuck out his tongue and began licking Petrick's helmet. Petrick looked back and was horrified to see the fat man's impossibly long tongue licking his helmet. The fat man said, "Why am I so hungry, sir? Is it because I haven't eaten?"
"I miss my wife's cooking." Petrick, shaking, replied, "Yes, sir. I'll speed up so we get to your house faster."
Nona Darsim snapped back a cynical reply, then smiled. Simar stared intently at her, only to be startled by Garing, who questioned his father,
"Why did you insult Nona Darsim with those bad words? Isn't that against our faith?
Seymour explained.
That he did it to test whether the deaths in the village were caused by her or not.
Seymour would wait for the truth tonight. Night fell. Seymour was seen smoking outside near the plantation. And then Nona Darsem's phantom servant materialized, perched on the treetops. The ghost muttered, "Perfect. Here is the old man who insulted me and Nona Darsem. Prepare yourself, old man. I will make you the next sacrifice for wealth." When they finally met, Seymour angrily confronted the ghost, blaming it for the deaths in the village. Seymour threatened the ghost, ordering it to return to Nona Darsem, but the ghost refused. A fight became unavoidable. Until the ghost stumbled to the ground. Seymour unleashed his power and burned the phantom to ashes. Meanwhile, Petruk, Garing, and Bagong were patrolling the village to protect the residents' homes from thieves and robbers. Suddenly, a villager rushed up to them, running frantically. The villager pleaded for help, explaining that Nona Darsem's house was engulfed in a massive fire. They immediately rushed to Nona Darsem's house to try and put it out. The flames were huge and raging wildly. The villagers were powerless to extinguish the fire that was consuming the house. They could only watch, knowing that Nona Darsem and her husband were still trapped inside.